Hello.
Hello, hello.
How are you doing there?
Fine, thank you.
Excellent. Joining us on Thanksgiving. I appreciate it.
Uh,
It means a lot to you this holiday? No.
Absolutely nothing.
No. Absolutely. No, me too. I would not know it was Thanksgiving unless I was on Twitter or whatever we are on these days, Mastodon or whatever social media one chooses to be on. But
Yeah.
yes, thank you for joining. We're going to talk about Power BI, data visualization, most likely. Would you like to introduce yourself so people know who you are and what you do and that sort of thing?
Uh, yeah. I'm basically a paladin. Yeah. For trying to make an Excel legitimate uh, data visualization tool. I try
Okay.
to. I'm a consultant and I'm a trainer.
Mm,
Also, try to use the other tools, the BI tools,
mm.
Tableau, Power BI.
Okay. Okay.
I tried Click View also.
All right.
Uh, Data Wrapper. I love Data Wrapper.
I never used this.
Yeah.
Have you developed
Uh,
a favorite?
it depends. I like
It depends. Yeah.
Sorry,
Good
too,
start.
too, too soon. Yeah. No, I have a reason why I like Data Wrapper.
Okay.
Data Wrapper. It's because you see a lot of small details that show that someone knows about data viz and implemented that in a very thoughtful way.
Okay.
Basically, yeah, something that you will find also in Tableau, but it's not even near Power BI or
Okay.
Excel.
Okay. And yeah, I'd never tried or looked at data. Maybe I might have done so without knowing it. But now you're making me interested in trying data wrapper. Is it a large learning curve or
Sorry.
is it difficult to learn? Is it
No,
how
no,
do you
it's very easy. It's very easy. It's based in Germany, um,
there you go.
so it's very easy because of that.
Yeah.
No, it's easy. It doesn't do a lot. It
Hmm.
is not supposed to, but what it does is really does really well. Yeah,
Yeah, but
and
that's quite
that those data visualization details, and there are
hmm.
great people there. Lisa,
Oh, yeah, okay.
yeah,
Yeah. I think I'm starting to know what you mean now. Yeah, I
yeah,
think I follow a few people on Twitter from Data Rapper. I think they're
yeah.
based in Berlin, actually.
I don't. I think so. I think so.
Yeah. Okay, now I know what you're talking about. Yeah. So I should indeed check it out. Bernard's joined us. Thank you.
Mm.
Thank you for joining us, Bernard. Well, I know it's you see we're competing with Thanksgiving and the World Cup. It's t- it's
It's too much. It's
it's
perfect. It's
yeah.
perfect.
It's fit for you. You know what I mean. If you're if you're a little bit shy, it's a perfect week to
Yeah,
come on. You know.
yeah, yeah.
But yeah, right. Data Rapper's based in Berlin, and I think I actually contacted someone about coming on and talking about data visualization. So I'm a bit slow to get today, but I'm getting there.
I also like the online tools are great. Flourish,
Mm,
raw graphs. I
mm,
think they know what they do and have a database background that you don't see
mm.
often.
Okay, nice,
Yeah.
nice. But your what is your background primarily? Like, where did you arrive at where you are today? Like, did you study or did you just kind of make
Uh,
your
I
way?
I started to I don't have a strong stats background, but I studied I worked with data all my professional life, making reports,
Mm, okay.
etc. Uh, and at some point, I tried to take a master's degree in uh, statistics in and information management.
Okay.
And when I was going to write the thesis, I found at the library there um, Tufte's book,
Mm.
and was love at first sight. I think we divorced, but it was a very important moment when I discovered that database was an actual field, uh, and that it changed a lot of things.
Yeah, I can imagine.
So after that, it was just learning more
Mm.
and trying to apply it with the tools, with the clients that I have that are mostly Microsoft based, uh,
Mm.
Microsoft culture, which means Excel. Uh, so I try to improve what they
Mm.
do with Excel.
Yeah. How does that work? How do you find working with Excel as a BI tool? That's a um, hard work, successful.
Uh, with clients, recently I had terrible experiences with Excel with the
Sorry.
Excel clients because I tweeted about it because most people, not people on Twitter, but most real people still
That's such an accurate description of Twitter. I love that.
still use Excel like it was 2003. I had I was actually working on workbook that
Mm.
was shared by a client
Mm.
that I tried to transform via Power Query into something that can be manipulated. So it's very hard. Uh, from time to time is interesting and rewarding.
Mm.
Most of the time is not. uh,
Yeah.
it's fun when you uh, show someone some things that create some kind of epiphany.
Yeah.
Uh, but that those are rare moments. Yeah,
Oh, really? That's interesting because I would have thought it would have been the opposite because I think so many people have used Excel for so long, and as you say yourself, in like this 2003 kind of style, 2003 for some people is quite advanced, by the way. And there is so much that they've never even tried to do because they don't consider the changes that might have occurred since then, because Excel is Excel. It's this very tool that's always been there. The standard thing, like no one knows that Power Query exists,
yeah.
or I mean, I'm not an advanced Excel user at all. So I would have thought that people quite often would be like, "Oh my god, it's amazing! You taught me so much," but no.
Yeah, they still don't use data tables. They don't
Mm,
use. I hope they use pivot tables.
mm,
Most do, I think. Uh, but it's strange. 20 years later,
mm,
they should use Excel in a different way.
mm, mm.
Uh,
I, th- I think I would be guilty of that as well, to be honest, because I so rarely go into Excel. Um, I just
that's
recently.
very sane. That's very sane of you.
Well, up until recently, I was very smug because every time I would open Excel and it was like a very packed workbook, it would just crash, right? And I was always like, but Power BI never crashes. However, that's no longer true. Power BI crashes far more than it used to do because of WebView 2, I'll
Yeah.
say. So I've kind of lost a little bit of my smugness, unfortunately. But yeah, unless I really have to. Like if someone asks me a question and says, "Oh Ben, how do you do this in Excel?" I'm like, "Oh, I think you're asking the wrong person there, to be honest." Unless it's how to open Power Query, because I just don't know. You know?
I'm working with a client with the perfect setup, I think, because basically I do everything in Power Query
Mm-hmm.
and then prepare the data for Tableau.
Yeah. Okay.
So uh, I don't even know how to use Tableau Prep. I didn't see it before yet.
Sure.
Uh, some say it's buggy. It's not very
Mm.
interesting. So, and the client is comfortable with that
Okay.
setup. So,
Fair enough.
yeah,
Fair enough. I mean, if you have something that works, then it makes sense, right? I've never used Tableau Prep. I've we used Tableau, Tableau Prep, not so much. I'm not. Is it like an extension of Tableau? Is it something that sits on top? I've always been.
I don't know. I
Uh,
never. I was never curious. My level of curiosity was not that much
yeah.
because I am comfortable with Power Query and do everything there. So
Mm. I think, but you can do so much with Power Query. That's the thing. I mean,
yeah,
of course, there are limits, especially based on how much data you have. But I think generally speaking, I think this is something that comes up quite often in Twitter conversations when people bang on about best practices. You must do this. You must do this. I think the vast majority of companies, for the data size that they actually have, for the
yeah,
standard day reporting, it's actually not that much data. So people, a classic example for me is banging on about you must delete auto daytime in Power BI. And whilst that is good, decent advice, I don't think it's actually as crucial as a lot of people say, simply because if you're sticking to just I don't know, couple million rows, it's really it's really quite okay. And I see lots of reports where it's very much within that threshold. But yeah, maybe I'm saying things I shouldn't say.
my
Uh,
my client today, my meeting with a client today. In the first meeting, they said they had a lot of rows in the sales table,
mm.
and those rows were basically 80K. So
Big data. Yeah, but I mean, it's like when I have conversations with my kids. Sometimes they'll say like, "Oh, Dad, is 100 big?" And I'm like, "100 what?" It's like it's you know it's relative to your perspective. 100,
yeah,
pounds. I mean, to some people, yes. To other people, no. 100. If you're a small company and you don't have a lot of data, and 80,000 is literally all the data you have. That's your version of big data.
yeah,
So yeah, it's an interesting thing when you work with different companies. But do you work sorry, I should have asked this when we first started. Do you work as like freelance, or you
yeah.
what's your setup? Okay.
Uh, yeah, consultant. I
Okay.
tried to. Uh, Today we had a training session
Mm,
for the sales team. Yesterday I was developing something in
mm,
Power Query, so it's a
mm,
very uh, diversified set of tasks for
mm,
multiple clients.
mm.
It's nice that way.
Nice. Yeah, nice to have that bit of difference between who you work with and what you work with, and different challenges each day. Should I
Yeah,
say?
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Um, yeah. Go ahead.
No, I was gonna go into the whole data visualization thing
Yeah,
because what I know you for most is data visualization. Of course, I mean it's what on Twitter or wherever we post. And I remember a while ago. It was 2020. I know that now because I had a screenshot that'll pull up in a second. It was really interesting talking about data visualization, and I didn't know I didn't know who you were. You were a person who I followed on Twitter, and you followed me. And Jeff commented about why does this not exist in Power BI, and it was talking about data visualization. And I'm going to bring up this comment. Is it okay? I mentioned before because I thought it was an interesting conversation. I'll quickly put a snippet on there. So Jeff's basically talking about Why don't we have this in the Power BI world? Um, and I'm basically talking about, the aesthetic side of reports is very important. It would be cool if more focus was given to it by Microsoft in the community. And I love this really sweeping comment you came at the end. It was like, to be honest, I couldn't care less about the aesthetic side of reports. It's not relevant. And I was like, what's this? What? And then I looked at your bio, and your bio was like data visualization book. And I was like, what? But how can you say the aesthetic side of reports is not relevant if you love data visualization, which I thought was a very interesting opinion. So could you expand on that? Because I know what you meant now, of course, because we've discussed it since. But I
Yeah.
thought it was just an interesting conversation.
Yeah, the idea and the book was much about that. Is that there are a few areas that are difficult for us office users,
Mm,
not designers, not without the proper design skills. And I wrote the book much for those people that don't have those skills, and also for the data part, but mostly to create a safety net for
mm,
them.
mm,
And the problem with thinking about aesthetics and try to create an aesthetically pleasant, a pleasant experience when you don't have the right skills, is that you'll mess everything. So because you don't have the right skills to do it, so
yeah,
you start doing the equivalent of flying pie charts, exploded pie charts in PowerPoint. So
yeah,
it's similar to that. So
yeah,
you can, if you can justify, you can explain your reasons
mm,
why you are doing this, why you are choosing this font, this
mm,
gray, these colors, etc. You will probably create something that is aesthetically pleasing, uh, because it is a byproduct of what you
mm,
think about the data and
mm,
how you want to communicate and create your message. Uh, and you will not create something that horrifies everyone, because if if something is really bad,
mm,
you're probably making some mistake elsewhere.
yeah,
So and it's a mistake that should be corrected. Either you have 3D effects, you have the wrong idea about using colors to
mm,
identify something, etc. So
mm,
uh, when
fair.
we try to Santiago Ortiz said a while ago that the best way to for you to be a designer is not to be a designer. And I really like that, because it
Mm,
it makes sense. You don't have to try to be a designer, because if you don't have the right skills, you'll fail.
yeah, no, it's very, and it reminds me a lot. Everything that you're talking about, it reminds me a lot of my experiences with using Deneb. Because the thing is with this, I know, I mean, people who create stuff with Deneb, they post it and they create wonderful things, visually fantastic, far better than I can. I mean, this is just fact. I mean, that this is not me trying to be humble. This is just fact. So when I make videos about Deneb, my point is always this: I'm not saying it's the right thing to do. I'm not saying what I'm creating is correct. I'm just saying that you can do it in this way. That this is literally factually how you use Vega Light to create this visualization. What I've created might be absolute crap. Yeah. It might be something that you'd never want to use in a report. But the techniques to get to that point, this is how you literally write that code. This is how
Hmm.
you use this mark to do that. Because I would never ever want to let anyone think that anything that I create is some kind of something that should be, oh yeah, we should definitely do things that way because that's the correct way. Because I know for a fact that it's a skill set that I try to build,
Yeah.
but it's very, very challenging. And sometimes I'll create something and then I'll look around and be like, okay, yeah, I should have done it that way, or that way looks better, or whatever. So I think it's now, like I say, what you wrote on that tweet, and I think on, and also to be fair, I just screenshot that little section. Subsequent tweets, you did clarify it. So I was like, okay, I know this guy's talking about. It isn't some random troll.
Ah,
Um, but no, it was certainly an interesting conversation, and I think, yeah, I'm increasingly interested. I think as probably everyone is aware at this point, in data visualization and the people who have mastered it or do amazing things with it. I mean, I was flicking through, what book is it? The book by Alberto Cairo, and I was reading it, and then he uses you as an example of the visualizations. That's cool.
yeah.
It's very impressive.
Yeah. Alberto was always very supportive of my work.
Yeah.
Uh, I wrote my book in Portuguese and tried to sell it as an ebook. And uh, since he speaks Portuguese, I asked him if he could review it, and he did. He convinced me that I should translate it and write it in English.
Yeah.
So he was very supportive
That's
from the
nice.
start.
Yeah. He
Yeah.
seems like a very nice guy. Which leads me on to a question that I saw in the chat before from Spilled Graphics. There you go. What we got? Would the world see another book from you? Any more
No,
books in the works?
no,
No.
no. I don't
That's
have
it.
time. I'd love to.
Yeah.
I actually wanted to write a book about how to. I wrote about that a working title today. How to get rid of Excel 2003 influence and starting to have a more meaningful data life.
Okay. I feel you've been scarred by Excel 2003.
Yeah, I think. No, seriously, I I'd like to write a new book.
Mm,
Uh, I don't have the time and
mm,
the resources, etc., because you do it for months or years, and
mm,
the return is not that great. Um,
mm.
I'd like to write about uh, multiple chart visualizations because I think that a chart is basically a paragraph in a story, and we are very good at writing short stories
Mhm,
with
mhm,
charts. But and we have hundreds of books about that. Mine
mhm,
too. Alberto stuff is everyone. Uh, uh, Alberto is a bit more abstract, but there are
mm,
many books focusing on the single chart, how to create the perfect single
mm,
chart,
mm,
how to deal with perception, what is the right chart for the right data, for the right question.
yeah,
We focus uh, too much on the single chart.
mm,
I don't think we have a good theory of how to communicate a more complex message, a more complex story, narrative, whatever, using multiple charts, multiple objects, multiple visuals, trying to
mm.
organize the data, the tables, charts, text, whatever.
Fair, yeah.
Uh, there are not many books. I think the the only one that tries to do that is Stephen Few's dashboard design,
Okay.
which it's it's Stephen Few, and it is very specific.
Mm,
But I don't. think in terms of theory, in terms of more things more abstract. Uh, we need we do need that level of understanding the interconnections between multiple objects.
Okay. Are you talking about graphical landscapes? Is the question.
I like the idea of graphical landscapes because
Well, what is that? Can you expand on what that is? Because I'm not sure what that is.
I, I uh, you have multiple shards.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, some of them create a narrative.
Okay.
Uh, some are more than a narrative is our storytelling.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, some are simply things to monitor something that is happening. So I use graphical landscapes for as an umbrella term
Okay.
for everything that is multiple has multiple shards.
Understand.
Basically,
Okay. Understand. Okay. Okay. Interesting.
that's the idea. But I'd love to think deeper about that. We, for example, we have the visual seeking mantra,
Mm-hmm.
Ben Schneiderman's uh, mantra, that is a starting point with overview first, then filter and details on demand. So
Mm.
that's a good point um, because it can structure the view of the multiple shards visualization.
Interesting.
Uh, yeah,
Jeff has announced that he's here, so we can start now. So I should play. Should I play the intro music again? Just
yeah, I
so
think
Jeff can.
so. I
Okay,
think so.
Jeff can. Thank you for joining, Jeff. And also, I want to say before I forgot to mention also to Bernard, happy birthday. It's Bernard's birthday. I'm not sure if he's still here, but alles Gute.
Yeah,
So, but yes, sorry.
birthday.
Data visualization stuff, just going off top of it. You see, Jeff was lost in Excel PowerPoint, and we've just been talking to Power Pivot. Sorry, he's missed the conversation. See, if you'd been here earlier, you could have solved these problems when you were talking about Power
Yeah,
Pivot.
yeah,
It's what you get for tardiness, right?
yeah.
Yeah. But your idea for a book sounds good. I want to read it, by the way. This second book that doesn't exist yet.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, what are you gonna do?
Oof.
How was
I,
the divorce with Edward Tufte? I don't know.
okay. I think he's pretty arrogant. Uh, and
Now get into it.
and he doesn't change. I think a good level of arrogance is nice. Uh, Stefan Few has, but he seems to be a much nicer guy.
Okay.
So what I mean is, if you have a system that it's original to you, you want to
Mm.
defend it. What I think about Tufte is that basically he's a designer that wants us to believe that his design style is the only option. There is the
Okay.
Tina. There is no other option,
I understand.
and it makes little sense.
Yeah. Yeah. I think
And
you
I
kind.
argue
I
more
think you
things.
you make life harder for yourself when you have that perspective. I mean, I don't know. I don't know. I'm sure he's a very obviously renowned person, but no matter how renowned or popular or um, skilled you are, if your view becomes that narrow, then you've kind of it's harder to argue. I would say because you have to if you don't even consider other perspectives, then it's just you kind of isolate yourself, right? I don't know.
Yeah,
I could be wrong.
yeah. It's hard to argue with someone that doesn't is unwilling to change
Mm.
their perspective, and we see that a lot lately.
But I feel like I'm missing out on something here because just I agree with Tufta, but it seems Tufta bashing throws out anything good he may have seeded. I have to say, right at this point, I'm feeling very, very ignorant because how do people know about Tufta's personality? Did he do something that was seen everywhere? I'm missing something here. I have to read about Edward Tufta and before I comment on any of this. So I
I
don't
think
know.
there are some reports of his seminars that are not exactly nice.
Okay, okay.
Uh,
I'll educate
yeah,
myself. This is
yeah.
what we're here to do. I'm here to learn about new things, be it visualization or those within the community. So interesting.
Jeff is saying that we shouldn't go throw the baby with a water bath. Uh, uh,
Okay, wait, drug, yeah.
I am. Should I say it? I'm a tufty baby.
That's absolutely.
My data visualization ideas came from Tufty because I was a regular Excel guy doing Excel stuff, including
Mm,
all the things that are kept in the closet. Um, but he opened my mind to a field of knowledge that I didn't knew about.
mm,
Uh, and at some point, things change. People start to see that there are other perspectives and naturally uh, try to find their own path.
yeah,
It's not.
it happens. You learn from a person, and then you
Yeah,
kind of
yeah.
dive. I mean, it's a natural thing to do, right? Though I have to say, at this point, it's getting a bit interesting because you said you're a tufty baby, and then it made me think of my childhood. Because in the UK, I'm not sure if this is just an English thing. There's also something called the Tufty Club. I'm sure it's a very different thing, and this is a badge from the Tufty Club. And what that does is Tufty is a squirrel that helps you cross the road. So I learned how to cross the road through the Tufty Club. Now I know we're talking about very different things right now, but it just sprung into my head right there. Daniel seems to know what it is, and actually, I wish I had it on my computer right now. When I was about 6 years old, I went dressed to a party as Tufty, and it was a wonderful costume. Um, I know it's a very random thing for me to be saying, but it came in my head, and I had to share it with everyone. So, so there you go. But no, not the not the same thing at all. I understand that. This is just me being random. Indeed, not the same thing. But yeah, I mean, sorry. To back to your point. Yes, you learn from a person, and then you learn, and it kind of guides you into one direction. Then you open your world up to different things, and I kind of like this, and I'll go off down there, and you stray away from the things that you once held in extremely high regard or whatever. But yeah.
My first interaction, I think it was one of the first interactions with Stephen Few, is
Hmm.
because I wrote a post titled something like Tufty is God and Stephen Few is Moses.
Oh my lord.
That was the general idea. I think the title was more interesting than that. But I think that they were not that different. Few was more a engineer, was less he was less worried about aesthetics also
Hmm.
than Tufty. So, but they did share some ideas about removing everything that didn't make sense, that kind
Hmm.
of stuff.
Hmm. Yeah. I mean, it's good to have different perspectives, right?
Yeah.
And I also love the idea of feuds within the database community. Um, That's really interesting to me. I'd never even considered it, but different perspectives. People getting angry at one another. It's very dramatic. There's a level of drama there that I'd never. Maybe I feel it should be turned into like a Netflix miniseries or something. I don't
I
know.
think so. I think so. The community is, in general, very well behaved compared to many more on the political area.
More
Uh,
civilized for sure.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So,
What's the question? From Jeff. Do you think tufty bashing is more prevalent in Tableau community than say Microsoft?
uh, I'm not sure. It is bashing Tufty is like hating pie charts. It's a it's a rite of passage. A
Okay.
second rite of passage. First, you hate pie charts. You say you hate pie charts,
Mm,
and at the second level, you hate Tufty,
mm.
uh, and so on. Um,
I like
so
it.
probably the Tableau community is more aware of data visualization principles, best
Mm,
practice, whatever.
nice.
Um, the Power BI community is more data centric, I think.
Yeah.
So it's not that relevant for
Mm.
them.
It's a good point, actually. Given the nature of the tools, it makes a lot of sense as well.
Yeah,
What Power BI uses are based on the data.
yeah,
And we have long conversations about the best practices of that data and what you do with that data and all that kind of stuff. And I feel that sometimes that visualization within Power BI is kind of just emerging from its infancy, which is a strange thing to say because it's been around for a decent amount of time. Um, but now you see more and more people experimenting and being more aware. Or maybe that's just my perspective because it's something that I've just gotten into in the past year. So maybe I'm just kind of coming from this blinkered view to a kind of wider view as I explore data visualization and have conversations like this and hear about things that I've never heard of before. But just segueing straight into Jeff's point there, have we spoken about Deneb yet? I'm going to do it right now. Now that we have things like Deneb that allow us to do a lot more and allow us to kind of play around a lot more than we used to. I know we had Charticler and whatnot, but Deneb seems to be picking up more and more users. So I think it
yeah.
makes us maybe more aware of um, the visualization side.
I was always fascinated by Articulator,
Hmm.
but couldn't use it.
Yeah, me neither.
I like the concept. It apparently does a lot, but
Hmm.
apparently uh, I'm the only person on Earth that cannot replicate the tutorials
Yeah,
for
I'm the
some
same.
reason.
No, I'm with you there. Yeah.
Uh, then I'm very curious about. I I'm I have to recreate three dashboards for a client in Power
Hmm.
BI
Hmm.
in the next weeks. Um, and I was happy to do it with uh, core core visuals.
Hmm.
I will probably do because of how things work there in that organization. Um, but I'd really like to play with Deneb and
Hmm.
Andre. He tried. Recreated
Hmm.
two of my charts.
Hmm.
I was I was impressed by both. One
Hmm.
because he was able to add uh, 30K data points, which is not normal in Power BI, and the other one because it was very flexible to what my chart demanded.
Okay.
So I really I'm really curious about Deneb, and I really want to play with it.
Have you worked with Vega Lite before?
Nothing.
Hmm.
I don't have anything about it.
Okay.
But I saw you. I watched your video.
Fair enough.
That
I I'm getting to the point now where I want to kind of move to Vega from Vega Lite, and but it just seems quite a big leap. I don't know. I'm looking at sometimes. I'm like, can I be bothered? I don't know. And because a lot of what I create is very for business use, I don't really honestly think if you're building business reports, I don't think you'd ever need Vega. I gotta say, I know you can do amazing stuff with it, but for me, Vega seems a lot more like visually spectacular, like this visually beautiful stuff that you'd have like on an infographic or on the front page of a magazine or whatever. But for me, Vega Lite is really a lot that you can do with it, especially for like business reporting purposes. But I'll get there at some point. I'm just being lazy.
I hope probably I have high expectations because Vega Deneb seem to bridge a gap between uh, the data management that you can get from Power BI,
Hmm.
and also have the flexibility to create basically what you want
Hmm.
in data visualization. So
Absolutely.
you things that you cannot do even in Excel. Uh,
Hmm.
Obviously not in Power BI in the core charts. So and it's not something that you have uh, to program
Hmm.
scratch. It's not D3 or
Yeah.
R, etc.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it seems to be the best of two worlds.
I mean, what I've found recently, or what I've just come to realize recently, is that because you're using Vega Lite, whatever, within Deneb, within Power BI, you can save a lot of time, or you don't have to do a lot of the complex stuff or the more complex stuff with Vega Lite because you can do that within your DAX, right? So filtering this, that, you can do that within the measure you're going to put in, and because of the aggregation that you get from within Deneb, you can also use that to sometimes simplify your DAX as well. So I do think it's a really fantastic combination of tools. It's, again, because you can simplify your Vega Lite through. I mean, obviously, if you're at the point where you're using Deneb within Power BI, you probably have, this is maybe what my question is, decent DAX skills. I mean,
Mhm.
I don't have good DAX skills, but it's decent. I can write measures and I know what I'm doing with the general, your bits and pieces, your filtering, all that kind of stuff. So because you can at least do your filtering within the measure, you don't have to do the filtering within the Vega Lite. It just somehow the combination seems just so beautiful sometimes. I love it.
Yeah.
It's a very enjoyable experience. Um, what's that? What a pretty
I was
interesting.
happy with my ignorance about Deneb, and you and Andre are ruining my
Yeah,
Christmas break
yeah.
because I will have
It's
to play with it.
my refusal to shut up about it is starting to help somehow. I think sometimes. This thing from Daniel. Vega in some ways is easier conceptually if you get how data is joined to the web elements, like how D3 does it. I still mostly use Vega Lite. Yeah, I think this is the thing. I think I just have to read through Vega and kind of again understand, like Daniel says, understand it, the concept of it, because I'm so like focused now on this, like, okay, layers and this and this. But I'll get through it, and I'll at least want to know that if I want to use Vega, I can use Vega. Because when I think of Vega Lite, it just seems, oh, it's Vega Lite. Therefore, I don't know, you can just add more stuff with Vega because it's like, it's not really like that. It has a different structure. Also, it seems. But I'm sorry for ruining your Christmas break. I apologize for making you work over Christmas. What are you going to do?
Okay. I'm okay. Okay.
You can write about it in your next book if you
Yeah.
book. if your book ever arrives. Some If you were to write, I'm sorry, just a next book. If you were to write a next book, who would you like to collaborate with? And then you've got a whole list of people: Alberto Cairo, William Cleveland, Stephen Few. Oh, we're not going to go back to Tufton.
Love all of them. I'd like to collaborate with some of the some designer like Stephanie Pazavic,
Okay.
uh, or some of the Italians in
Yeah.
general. The women in database are doing a great
Mm,
job.
mm,
They are the discussion recently about the current discussion in the thread in Twitter is much more interesting than the ones we had a couple of weeks ago, where male dominated
mm,
discussions was less less interesting. So I'd like obviously I like all of them, especially Colin Ware and Alberto Cairo.
mm.
But I'd like to try something else. I Data visualization is not very active in here in Portugal. There are not many people doing it,
Mm,
except for Data Lisboa, where there are 4 or 5 uh, women doing a
mm-hmm,
great job. Create with meetups, with interviews, with etc.
mm.
Um, Something that if you go to some online courses, you see mostly women creating tutorials, interesting
Yeah.
tutorials. So they tend to be apparently more active in
Okay.
some areas, which is interesting and
That's
bring a new
interesting.
a different perspective. Um, so and sometimes we don't are not aware of
Mm.
a few things that are too much testosterone. Uh,
But it's an interesting thing because you mentioned about like data visualization meetups, and to be honest, it's something that I never have given a great deal of thought to. I think it would be great. I don't know that many places. Again, probably haven't looked enough. But for example, Power BI has a user group in whatever city, this city, that city, all over the
yeah,
place.
yeah.
But how many data visualization user groups are there? Because that could, or how data visualization groups, I should say, not user groups or whatever. Because that could be quite cool to actually kind of participate in that in a little bit and kind of really have whatever weekly or not weekly, monthly kind of
Hmm.
meetups in different cities or whatever here online and stuff about
Yeah.
talking to people about the concepts. Is it a do you know, like generally across Europe or ever, is there a big decent amount of community?
Uh, I don't know. Power BI, obviously, yes.
Probably, sure, yeah.
They have at least a meeting at least once a month
Mm,
in the Portuguese subsidiary of Microsoft. So I think they were uh, employees. I'm not sure.
okay.
Uh, Tableau is not very active here. Uh,
Mm,
Database, we really don't care much about data visualization. Uh, we are very opinionated,
mm.
and data kind of spoils things with facts. So, so we don't like that.
Fair enough, yeah. So I'm not sure if Jeff is saying that he ran a data viz group in Wellington. Is that what he's saying? Yes, yeah, that is what he's saying. That's
Yeah,
pretty cool.
Meetup was very popular during the pandemic.
It was, yeah.
Yeah.
But if Jeff, if you kick that off again, I would love to join remotely. It has a pie chart in the logo. That's fine. Um, but yeah, that's cool. I think it's a nice set because I think it's that there's this there are sometimes I feel there are so many Power BI user groups and that especially now because of post pandemic or whatever, wherever we are now, or still pandemic. I don't know, but it's much more online than it used to be. So
Yeah.
now you can just go to any user group because they're normally at least hybrid. So I can go to this Power BI, that Power BI.
Yeah.
So to do the same thing with data viz would be pretty cool. Interesting. I clicked on it already. Jeff, calm down. I clicked on it. I'll bring up which logo. I can't bring up a logo. What? Oh, you want to actually click on the link? 1 second. Can't click the link. I can't click on the link. Sorry, Jeff. Someone else click on the link. But it has a pie chart in the logo. There you go. Sorry, Jeff, to let you down there. Didn't mean to upset you. Cool. Very interesting. I think I've missed a couple of questions in the chat. I do apologize. I'm not great at reading the chat and talking at the same time because multitasking is not my strength. However, it's been a very interesting conversation, and I've learned lots of stuff that I had no idea about. So I'm going to go and do lots of googling and reading, and to make myself less ignorant than I should be about lots of things, such as um, Tufty and other people.
I think it would be more interesting to discuss my love for pie charts and speedometers and everything that everyone hates.
Do you love pie charts? Do you like speedometers?
I do.
Excellent. That's interesting. Why? How do you feel about thermometer charts?
I love them as well. No,
Fantastic.
it's the thing that you create a thing, something that attracts the eye, and then everything flows from there. So
Interesting.
it goes back to the idea that we have to have a narratives with multiple charts, and you don't have, you cannot say pie charts are bad or something else is bad, because you have to use to define them in the context. I
Mm,
have to say, let's start by saying that 25% of population X.
mm.
This is my pie chart. Look at how pretty it is. Then it flows to something more meaningful, more healthy in terms of data. Uh, but you start there and track people to something else more substantive.
So this Spill Graphics. Sorry, I don't know your real name. Spill Graphics. I apologize. Is talking. You say you're talking about emotional design by Don Norman Nice. What I think you're talking about is peacocking. This is the data visualization version of peacocking to do something extravagant to get someone's attention. I like it.
It's also as a reference because once you have a reference, for example, if you have I don't know market share at national level in a pie
Mm,
chart, and then you can have something more detailed at
mm,
regional
mm.
level and with a more complex chart. But you start there, and you know that okay, 45% is my reference, my anchor point, and from there I can compare my regions with something that makes sense to me.
Cool. I like that technique. And I like the fact that, and because you mentioned the technique, I can start to use it and I can justify it by saying, hey, I was told this is legitimate. Okay. So I'm putting in, and you
Yeah,
can't say anything about it. I didn't used to like the speedometer charts. Is it called the speedometer in Power BI? This kind of like semicircle
yeah,
nonsense. Yeah.
yeah.
I really didn't like it. I don't like it. But if you use Microsoft hate Greg quick measures. He includes one in his add-on, and it's actually very nice. To be fair, it was Brian Julius who mentioned this to me
Mhm.
a month and a half ago, and I have used it on a few occasions. So I'm becoming more adventurous and using different. And I think this is the thing because maybe this is a bit harsh to say, but I think a lot of the visualizations that you're given with as standard in Power BI aren't particularly well designed. It kind of turns you off to them.
Mhm.
Um, but if you use them as a jump point and say, okay, I've got this, it's not very good. Let's see if I can somehow create myself a better one or whatever. It's allows you to be a bit more creative and create something
Yeah,
that's a bit less crap.
yeah.
I don't know. Oh, last question from you mentioned it before. Sorry, I missed it. Thank you for repeating it. Are you are you staying on Twitter after Elon's takeover?
He's trying hard to make me uh, go away.
Hmm.
It is, but I'll start by muting him and blocking everything related to him, and see if things get a bit more light, and uh, because we are not really exposed much to that Alan thing. So
Hmm. Hmm.
um, it's fun, but it's something on the side.
I think it's. I mean, the way I use Twitter, it's very much within that community, right? And I
Yeah,
have very little exposure. Not if I ever peek out the kind of Power BI data visualization part of Twitter, I'm like, oh my god, yeah, I've forgotten. It's all completely horrendous here. So I just kind of duck back into it, you know. Um, Obviously, is a bit of a tool, unfortunately, but in my opinion, a a social media platform is only as good as people on it. So if you
yeah,
go to like Mastodon, for example, it's fine, but there aren't many people there.
yeah.
I personally think Tumblr is fantastic. I think Tumblr is the best option.
You
However,
are trying to sell it.
but there's no one there. It's like
Yeah,
there's so few people there. So if there's no one on it, doesn't matter how good it is. It's like you're talking to yourself, right? So who cares how good it is?
yeah.
But I do think people should go to Tumblr instead of places like Mastodon because the way we use it to talk about data visualization with very image heavy and text stuff and links, it's awesome for that. It works so well. Um, but there's no one there. So it doesn't matter, basically, right? Jeff's going to join, so I appreciate it. Jeff's down on Twitter at the moment. Jeff's really kind of moving away from Twitter, which upsets me because
He
I don't
is.
know.
Oh,
Yeah, I don't know. One second, you want a link to my Tumblr. I have to talk and type at the same time. This is very difficult for me. I'll put it in there. So if anyone is on Tumblr, like no one is, or wants to join, you can find me there. I think that link worked correctly. Shockingly, it's tumblr.com/Power BI guy. Who knew that it would
yeah,
also be
yeah.
Power BI guy there? I use such a range of online names. Yeah.
Let me just answer Carlos. Basically, I'm comfortable with the LinkedIn, with the Twitter way of doing uh, interaction. I
Mm,
don't really. I try that. I do my best to interact in LinkedIn on LinkedIn, uh,
mm,
but it's short lived. Uh, I I keep an account on Facebook for basically my biking uh, explorations. I don't
mm.
even have family there. And LinkedIn, I am unable to be consistent on LinkedIn. Uh, I
Mm,
can stay all day on Twitter.
mm.
Shouldn't. Uh, I there are Carlos posts incredible stuff there, uh, and I try to keep up with what he does, but I don't know. I'm not attracted to LinkedIn in the
Mm.
hour. Yeah,
For me, LinkedIn's only good to post my videos because people then click on the links. It makes people watch them. Still not many, but more. But and I think LinkedIn is not an enjoyable experience to go on. It's mostly just, and I think it's LinkedIn's very easy to mock as well because of how ludicrous it is.
yeah,
And my favorite, I mean, there are when I say favorite, I mean very terrible. There are lots of many terrible posts that you get in LinkedIn, but I think my favorite terrible ones are where it's just like a three paragraphs about something completely whatever, and then a random photograph of the person like standing. It's like, what's the photograph got to do with the text? The photograph is just there to kind of, I know it's there to draw my attention. I get it. I'm not
Yeah.
stupid, but it's like, these are my thoughts, if in case you care. And it's quite a long post, and there's lots of whatever, lots of paragraphs. And then there's a person standing in front of a river or standing at a desk, like doing this. It's like, no one cares about this. Sorry. Like this is a donut shop of social media. Oh my god, that's really good. Yeah, that's yeah. I can get on board with that. And someone else is going to come back to Tumblr, hopefully. So good. Thank you for that. Tumblr. Actually, Tumblr are going to open up the something which allows the posts that you post on Tumblr to also be viewed also on Mastodon. I'm not sure how that works exactly. There's some kind of
That's a
thing.
game changer.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't know what that means. So like the 50,000 global people who are on LinkedIn can not LinkedIn, Quatch. Tumblr can post directly to the 50,000 people who are on Mastodon or whatever.
Yeah.
So whatever. Elon Musk just trying to destroy things for us. Cool. Anyway, mate, I'll say thank you very much because it's been an hour, and my wife's been away all week. She's been in Freiburg, and she just got back like 15 minutes ago. I can hear her downstairs. I'm not sure if you heard the dog barking, but that was the dog excited because my wife is back. And so I'll go and say hello to her. Thank you so much for joining. It has been a very enjoyable chat.
Thank you for inviting me.
Absolutely.
And thank you for inviting me in this specific day.
Yeah,
made me much more comfortable.
Yeah, it's we've been okay. We've had a nice active chat despite of the fact that it's been Thanksgiving. Luckily, Thanksgiving only affects one country in the entire world, so I think we did okay. But no, it's been a lot of fun. Thank you so much, and everyone in the chat asking all the questions, much appreciated. And I shall see you all next week. Thank you very much, and
Thank you.
Goodbye.
Don't you wanna have fun? Fool around with someone. Don't you wanna have fun? Never mind my dumb heart. It needs a little kickstart.